Welcome back to Behind the Vocals. This week we have the absolute pleasure of being joined by the one and only Nick Arthur of Molotov Solution. It's an amazing episode where we talk about all things from touring with Die Hard is Murder, anime, video games, vocal routines, prep, all kinds of things. It's a fantastic episode. I had a blast chatting with him. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. All right, we are back and we are joined by the one and only legendary Nick Arthur of Molotov Solution. Sir, how is it going? Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I think I'm doing as good as I can be right now. Life is good, happy, healthy, no complaints.
Can't ask for much more. Hopefully, it's
Yeah.
not too hot where you're at because you're out in Vegas, right?
Yeah, there's actually I think it's a little cloudy and rainy today, but we're supposed to be in a little bit of a heat wave. So yeah, it's
No,
helping keep it a little cool, but it's 100 supposed to be 104 today. So
no,
yeah, pretty
that's
hot.
that's miserable.
Yeah.
No, that's no fun.
Yeah.
um,
I work outside too, and
oh,
I get up real bright and early to make sure I beat the heat as much as possible. But even 9, 10 a.m., it's already starting to get pretty freaking hot. So
mm-mm.
yeah, it's
No.
brutal.
At least you guys don't really have much humidity. It's just insane heat.
Yeah, if you can, I mean, if I can find a tree or something to stand under and I'm in the shade, it's all good. Not bad at all. But when you're in direct sun, it's pretty brutal. It's not as bad as Arizona. Like Phoenix, the sun down there is just like another level, and that's even coming from somebody that's lives and grew up in Las Vegas. But it's yeah, it's still pretty rough.
All right.
Nice if you got a pool. If you
Oh
got a
yeah.
pool, it makes it beautiful. But yeah.
All right. So how I like to start this, I just like to kind of give you the floor, let you introduce yourself for those that for some reason have no clue or don't know or maybe want to know a little more. Just if you will, just let us know about yourself.
My name is Nick Arthur. I guess I'm most known for the time that I spent with Molotov Solution. Um, we had a pretty long hiatus, but recently just released an EP called Void. I think I won't say 5 songs. There's 5 songs on that EP. I've also toured with, like, sang for other bands like I Declare War, Tired as Murder, and Fit for an Autopsy.
And the EP is insane. It's so
Thank you.
sick, man. It's
Thank you.
God. Whenever I saw you guys come back and you post a song, I was just like, "Oh my god, yes! I'm so happy."
Thanks. Yeah,
It's
it was a long time coming. It was something that we really intended to do and work on back when we did our last tour in 2014, and then we just never got around to it. And then we would go through kind of like lineup swaps and flops and changes. And at one point, we had all the guys back from the Insurrection lineup, and then that kind of fell apart. Um, Shane, our old bass player, is with Immortal Disfigurement now. Our old the drummer that toured with us last in Australia also plays with Immortal Disfigurement. Um, and now it's just me, Jake, and Robbie making music. So may
nice.
stay that way, may not. I guess we'll kind of see how things go.
So just a three piece right now, getting after it.
Yep, currently.
Nice. So what made you
Yeah.
decide to do the trilogy? Like, what inspired that?
We've always kind of wanted to do something a little more theatrical. Robbie and I have like we've been like um, big movie buffs and kind of big like horror in general fans, and we've always wanted to kind of do something like a little more narrative driven, a little more theatrical. And the 3 songs that we chose for the music videos aren't necessarily related to each other. They do kind of tell a bit of like a progressive story, but they weren't intended to really. They were just kind of the more theatrical songs that were on the EP, whereas Stranglehold and Necessary Evil are just kind of a little more straightforward, to the point, brutal, punishing kind of songs. These ones kind of have a little bit more like ambiance and flow to them. Um, and so yeah, so when we found a director, we were like, well, we could do like one music video or we could do 3. And we just decided to, come back with a bang and do 3 big ones. Yeah.
It was sick too. The director crushed it. It was really cool. Like the whole experience of it with the three, like the storytelling, and everything was really really cool.
Yeah, we ran into a few snags during production. I think we started so November 21 is when we tracked the EP. We started. It took a little bit of a while for us to figure out who we wanted to shoot the music videos with. We didn't figure that out until June, July-ish of 2022. Production started like around the holidays. I think around like Thanksgiving. It was like from Thanksgiving to like Christmas 2022. And then there was like a bunch of uh, VFX snags that happened, like special effects VFX snags that happened after like post production, and we didn't end up getting the finished music videos until nearly a year later. So that was January 2023. We didn't end up getting them until January-ish 2024. And
Wow.
then we didn't finally release the first song until I guess it was like right around Halloween 2024. So yeah, so it was like it was 3 years after tracking. It took that long for those to come out.
So what made you guys decide after the hiatus, like, hey, let's make music again. Let's get back at it. Like, what was the mindset with that?
Well, I've never really talked about this before, but when Robbie left the band, it was not like the most amicable situation. There was like a lot of infighting and a lot of toxicity and stuff like that that was going on. And so when he left, it was me, Shane, Richie, and Jake kind of keeping the band going. And I was pretty checked out at that point. Um, we did a few tours with like Impending Doom and I Wrestled the Bear once and Volumes, and we did a European tour with like Carnifex and Beneath the Massacre. And after that, I was like done. We had booked a couple other tours. We had booked like a co-headliner with Within the Ruins, and we had booked a support for the Acacia Strain. And that was kind of when I, you know, paused the band and put the band on hiatus. And that was like mid 2012. And we reconvened with like the Harbinger lineup. I want to say it was probably like late 2013, early 2014. And we just started kind of hanging out, jamming. We booked an Australian tour and a chain reaction show in Anaheim, and had every, like I said, every intention of like getting together, writing music, doing stuff after that. And it just never, there was just never any follow through. And I tried for a really long time to, get things going again and, get people working together, writing music. But I think when everyone at that point was kind of like out of the band for a certain amount of time and had like their own lives going and, other responsibilities, it was just hard to get people to focus, I think. And we lost that kind of Harbinger era lineup that we had, and we started kind of pulling, from different people. Eventually got all of the Insurrection lineup back together and still couldn't get on the same page with stuff after kind of like rehashing the drama that caused the Insurrection lineup to fall apart. Through like blood, sweat, and tears, everybody kind of talked out their, I don't know, beefs or drama or whatever it was, and thought we were all good, and then it kind of fell apart again. So uh, we just kind of settled on me, Robbie, and Jake, and this was, I guess it was like just before COVID. It might have been in like 2019 where we were like, okay, we're gonna do this thing. And Robbie and Jake had started kind of writing music together very slowly. And then in mid 2020, there was a fiasco with like some kind of internet misunderstanding of some uh, record label. I don't know if I'd call him exec, but like owner. And he kind of approached me about ghostwriting an album for Molotov. And I was like, no thanks, not interested. I've had like Marshy from Diarda's Murder offer to write me a Molotov album, and I told him like no, like I'm not going to do it. unless Robbie's a part of it. Robbie then, of course, brought Jake back. And when that record label owner started putting stuff out around the internet without like my permission, there was like people being talked to behind the scenes that ended up getting back to our old manager, and they called us and they were like, "What's this I hear about Molotov writing a new album?" And they're like, we're working on one. And then he was like, "No, I heard like someone's working on one for you." And so that kind of got the wheels turning. And then eventually we were just like, okay, we need to book time. It was like early 2021 where we were like, we got to call Will Putney and like book some time. So we booked some time and got in there. And when it was like, there was like a date, like a deadline to have music written because we're going into the studio, we paid all this money to be there. We finally got it done. So I think the pressure helps in a way. Um, Maybe not in the best way for like creativity's sake, but it helped us get in and get it done and get some music out.
Nice. And you
Yeah.
guys crushed it. This across the board, it's awesome, without
Thank
a
you.
doubt. Is there music in the works for the future? You already have something planned, or
We've been writing some stuff. There
okay?
was some stuff that we wrote shortly after completing the stuff with Putney too. So there is some stuff. I guess we're kind of just trying to decide like what direction we want to go in
Yeah.
and kind of what the future of the band looks like. Because one thing that we didn't really discuss a lot of was like playing shows and touring and doing stuff like that. So we've had tons of offers to do that kind of stuff. We just aren't prepared, and there's no band. It's just Robbie and I really. Jake is he lives in Nashville and he like produces country music, pop,
Oh wow.
country, rap music in
Wow.
Nashville, and so he's not gonna be like a touring member of the band or like a playing member of the band. He's strictly just writing and performing on the albums. But yeah, so it's really just Robbie and I. We don't have a second guitarist or a drummer or even a bassist. So touring is kind of like not some touring, playing shows, festivals, whatever is like not something that we are prepared for. So and we're not actively preparing for it either. We just kind of I guess wanted to see what happened with the EP, how it was received, and like if we were going to kind of continue doing stuff. I feel like the EP was really well received. The trilogy was, got a great reaction too. So we do want to continue. We just need to uh, figure out like when and how. Robbie has been talking about writing new music and tracking it this year. I would love to do that. I think it's a little bit of a tough um, ask for me specifically because I have a baby coming in October. But newborns don't require that much. So so
You can hold a
I
newborn and do
and
vocals,
I
right?
yeah, I'm just a singer. Like I can write. I can write stuff while I'm, carrying a baby around, bottle feeding or whatever. So yeah, I'm sure we'll figure it out soon. I mean, based on how things went with Void, I think we're definitely going to try to do something else. I'm really trying to push towards a full length, um, but an EP would be much easier, much more affordable for us, especially because we don't have a record deal or anything like that. We're doing it all DIY. So yeah, hopefully,
Okay. I'm
yeah, we're
stoked.
we're we're working towards it slowly but surely. Yeah.
I was gonna save this for a little later, but before we dive into the vocal deep dive, I wanted to ask. So, what you mentioned you're doing everything DIY. So, how is it doing band things now? Music, videos, promoting, marketing, all the stuff. In 2025 compared to when you were touring and doing everything before, because it is a completely different landscape of content with all the stuff that goes into the
Mhm.
digital marketing now, and it's vastly different than how it was back 10, 13 years ago.
Yes. So 10, 13 years ago, I think Instagram was just being born,
Yeah.
like it was fresh. Like only people with iPhones had Instagram. Facebook was like kind of our main avenue of like self promotion marketing. We had some music videos on YouTube too, but like YouTube wasn't really what it is today either. Like it was today it's more of like a social site where they're like, commenting. You have your own kind of like communities on Instagram
Yeah.
or on YouTube, whereas like you didn't have that back then. So seeing the way like commenting and support and stuff like that has changed has been really cool. I also went back to school and finished my degree last year in marketing, so I have a pretty like broad understanding of digital marketing and analytics and stuff like that, and realize like how much that plays a part in larger bands, specifically bands like Slaughter to Prevail or Spirit Box, where they make decisions based on stuff that gets posted, based on how things are received. Like, oh, maybe we need to pivot to this, maybe we should keep doing things like this. Like, it's really interesting. Robbie also, I don't do much digital marketing. I just kind of have like a personal Instagram page, and I don't really, do much social media wise outside of that. I barely even operate my Instagram. But Robbie has a tattooing business where he does a lot of social marketing or digital marketing, and he kind of knows his way around the algorithms and whatnot. So he planned a lot of our posts. We were also working with Marshy from The Artist Murder in the background on a lot of things around the time that we re-released the Insurrection remaster. Um, Also, we are getting a bit of help from our old manager Jason Majou. Majau. I still don't know how to pronounce his name properly. I should. Um, and then his I guess you'd call him like assistant Alessandro. Alessandro specifically has been doing like so much work for us, kind of behind the scenes, and kind of setting us up with like different PR companies. La Cosa Nostra, which is I guess the PR company that we are using, had been instrumental in uh, getting the word out about different releases that we were doing, music videos and songs and the EP in general. Um, but yeah, it's very different than it was 13 years ago, or however long ago. We didn't do much of any kind of marketing before, and then the landscape is just completely different now. I mean, so many bands around COVID just got massive based on
Yeah.
their, YouTube uploads and whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's been hard for us to adjust to. But then again, we're just like essentially like an internet project right now. We're not doing any touring. A lot of these bands, when they go out now, they take a social media guy with them.
Mhm.
It's like before we would have like a light guy, maybe if we were lucky, a merch guy, maybe if we were lucky, a tour manager, maybe if we were lucky. And now you have to bring a social media guy, someone that can take pictures, video, someone that can be, editing that and uploading it every day or every week or whatever when you're on the road, because it's how important it is to stay relevant. Because if you're not posting stuff, people forget about you.
It's
It's
crazy.
wild.
The
Yeah.
attention span too is like the short form content now is like what everyone goes to, because
Yep.
attention spans, like you have a few seconds to grab somebody's attention and then they're on to the next thing.
Yep.
It's wild.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. My wife has a bit of TikTok brain. She really loves it. I'll swipe on Instagram here and there, but I'm honestly like a bit like over social media. I
Yeah.
don't. I'll do Twitter and Instagram a little bit here and there, but yeah, it's rough when you sit there and you swipe away like an hour or two of your life and don't even realize it. It's brutal.
Oh yeah, it's easy. The rabbit hole people will go down just
Yeah,
constantly.
yeah, not
Um,
healthy either, because it kind of, with the way the algorithms and everything work, it just puts you into your own echo chamber.
oh yeah,
The things that you're liking are the things that they're reinforcing. So it's
yep.
like, yeah, it's really interesting to see how people echo chamber themselves with
Yeah.
their online presence.
It's also crazy. Sometimes you'll be talking to somebody like in person about something or on the phone, and then next thing you know, it's all over your feeds, and I'm just like, oh, okay, that's a little creepy.
Yep, that is super weird. It happens with me and my wife all the time, which is, I'm like, why am I seeing this?
Yeah, we literally just talked about this, and now there's
Yeah.
like ads everywhere for
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into some vocal talk. How long have you been doing vocals?
Probably like seriously, like trying to be in bands and stuff. Maybe since I was like 17 or 18.
Okay.
And I'm 37 now, gonna be 38 in August, so I would say about 20 years.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Got some experience under the belt.
Yeah, it's been a
Uh,
bit.
just a little bit. Just a little
Yeah.
experience. What got you inspired to become a vocalist?
I think like I mean I wasn't a musician. But I liked hardcore music and like metalcore and hardcore specifically. And I had some friends going to shows with when I was like 16, 17, and I think like the first what really clicked with me with the music was the vocals and the lyrics. Like I love the guitars, love the drums, whatever, but like I didn't like hear them and go, "Oh man, I want to do that." I would more focus on like singing along with the words and trying to sound like the vocalist, whatever. And I think what kind of like clicked for me was that I was in a car with like a bunch of my friends. We're like all probably like 17, 18 years old. A couple people, the driver might have been a little older, driving a bunch of kids around, but like I can't remember exactly what we were listening to. It was probably like Comeback Kid or like Bury Your Dead or something like that. And we're just in the car, music up full blast, like I'm in the passenger seat and there's like three or four people crammed in the back seat, and we're just like cruising to probably do a show or maybe leaving a show going to like In and Out or something like that, and we were listening to whatever it was and I was just singing along with it. And my friend who was driving turned it down. He was like, "Dude, you're pretty good at that. Like, have you ever thought about being in a like starting a band or something like that?" And I was like, "No, like what the hell are you talking about? How do you do that? What is a band?" Like I have no idea what I just like idolize these people and like going to shows and stuff. I didn't really ever think much about it that way. And I would say probably like within a year or so, I had a friend's band who they're still like a local Vegas band, but they still play shows today. They're called Take, and their singer asked me to come up on stage with them and sing a part. And I was like, "Well, like what do you mean? I don't know the words. Like how am I going to come up and sing the part?" He's like, "Just sing whatever you want." I'm like, "Okay." And I did it. And when I did it, um there was people in the audience that were members of another like bigger local band called Lynch Thy Beauty, and they were looking for a new vocalist. They heard me and they were like, "We want you to sing for us." So I was like, "Okay." And then they were like, "We also have a tour coming up." I was 18, and they were like, "We have a tour coming up. Could you go on this tour with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll quit my job and go on tour with you. Sounds awesome." That tour was actually in support of Molotov Solution. It was
Oh
like
wow.
Molotov Solution, Elijah, Impending Doom, and then Lynch Thy Beauty. And so
Wow.
this was 2018. It was the Dudes, Brews, and Boobs tour. I think most of the people on the tour were like between the ages of 16 and 18. So yeah, very interesting. I was the oldest member of my band, along with Brooke Reeves, who was the oldest member of his band at 18. We were both 18, and we toured in a van together with a bunch of 16-year-olds.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of how it started for me. It was like, okay, I like this music. Instruments don't really like appeal to me very much, so I was just like, a teenager and like angsty and was like raw. And then yeah, kind of like slowly got noticed by just I don't know, putting it out there.
So no instruments before going to vocals.
I mean, a little bit. My parents had bought my brother and I like some Fender Squier bass and
Yeah.
guitar, and we're like, "Here you go," and we were like, "Sick! What do we do with these?" Um, so no lessons really or anything like that, but we picked some things up, on our own, but never really got too invested in it.
Okay. So how
Yeah.
did you learn to do vocals? Because definitely, and we'll I'm sure talk about this more, but back then there was really no resources to be like, this is how you scream, this is how you do these screams, or to get this, tone or anything. It was kind of just figuring out on your own
Hmm.
in whatever way you could, and then trying to figure out how to not hurt yourself while you're figuring it out on your own.
Yep.
But now, and since the Zen of Screaming, Melissa Cross, there's a wealth of knowledge on the internet. You can go and there's people breaking down all kinds of things. So how
Yep.
did you learn how to do vocals?
I kind of just learned by listening to bands that I liked. I guess like seeing what my voice was capable of, like when singing along to those bands, and like, this kind of like I can do this, or like I can't do this. Like not trying to like, figure out the technique, but more so just kind of like what came naturally. And I was always kind of like a MIDI to like a low end screamer. My favorite vocalist was Matt Russo from Bury Your Dead. I also like was a huge fan of the Acacia Strain, and so it was kind of this, like more like hardcore yell where that's like clear and audible, like you can understand what they were saying,
Yeah.
unless you're like, someone's 80-year-old grandma was like, "What is this devil music?" But yeah,
Don't
like
you love
that's
those
kind of
comments?
yeah, that's
Music's
that's
great, but the
always
vocals, why are they yelling? What's wrong? I don't understand it.
exactly. Yeah, and my parents were very much kind of that same way. My dad's like a heavy metal guy. He likes like Metallica and Pantera and the Deftones and System of a Down. Like he likes,
Yeah.
more modern metal stuff. But he was like, "Why you gotta scream?" And I was like, "I don't know, dude. I'm fucking pissed off at the government. I don't know what you want from me." But yeah, that was kind of it. Was just kind of like, all right, I kind of sound like this Matt Russo guy. Like this works for me. Like get a little more brutal with the Acacia Strain stuff. Like, and so I had tried to start. Like I had like a straight edge hardcore band that I tried to start. I was in Lynch Thy Beauty for a little bit. After Lynch Thy Beauty, I had a project called Dawn of Emergence. We tracked like an EP for that, and it was kind of like Acacia Strain, a mirror kind of stuff, and then ended up going into joining Molotov shortly after that. Uh, so yeah, so that's I guess kind of like how I learned was just kind of by listening to bands that I liked, but also kind of figuring out what fit for my voice, or like how my like what my voice could handle and like
Yeah.
hold up to without like trying to force it too much.
Yeah.
Um it Not to say like I didn't push or like blow my voice out. Like I wasn't doing it right. I was just doing like what felt good or what I thought sounded good. And on to be very honest with you, touring with other bands outside of Molotov, like Molotov had a singer before me, and he kind of helped shape my voice into like what it was with Molotov. But then I think I found my voice like in Insurrection and beyond Insurrection. But really playing shows, playing like I did double sets on tour with Fit for an Autopsy. So I would do Fit for an Autopsy set, and then I would do Molotov set. Didn't get paid for it either.
That's brutal though. That's a lot in
And
one
then
night.
yeah, it is. I did I Declare War. I did like a 10-day stretch with them in like 2010 maybe. And then touring with Thy Art. I did two tours with Thy Art in 2016 in Europe, and then I did another tour with them when CJ was having a baby in 2019, and kind of like finished the last like 2 weeks of that tour. But I would say the two tours that I did with them in 2016 also kind of helped shape my vocal style a little bit, like on what you hear with Void, because I didn't realize like how easy vocals was, like especially like metal vocals. I didn't realize like how much you didn't have to push to really convey emotion, how much you didn't like how much you could use the microphone to project your
Yeah.
volume, while like curtailing how much you're pushing to just kind of a save your voice, but b do more with it. The harder you push, I feel like the less that you can do. And so I was blowing my voice out pretty frequently with Molotov. If I wasn't in shape, I would blow it out and I would hurt myself. And then I would spend like half the tour trying to get healthy again while like building up the conditioning of my voice. Once it was conditioned, it was fine. I could push and I could do everything that I, needed to do. But touring with IART, like CJ's vocal style is so much easier than mine, and kind of mixing his vocal style and my vocals, like picking up how to do his vocal style by listening to him and then performing with them. It took a second because it's like his vocal style is obviously different than mine. We do sound kind of similar, but the way that he comes across on tracks is very different than the way that I like to. And when we started doing like I don't want to say like rehearsals, I guess, before we started touring, I was singing like how I would sing with Molotov, and then slowly over the course of like the first week or two, I started like just adapting his vocal style and then mixing in my vocal style. And so with some of the stuff on Void, I kind of do a bit of both.
Okay.
And then having to do vocal one takes for Devour the Children and Mortis Imperium, I really had to get myself in shape. We went to the studio initially to do the Devour the Children one take, and I blew it. Like I couldn't get through like the first line because I was
Wow.
out of gas. Like my lungs were just not conditioned. I just was not ready to go. So I was like, okay, give me 2 weeks. I'm gonna practice my ass off. and and yeah, like really had to like adjust my vocal style to kind of what I had learned while touring with IR, and mix in, my previous like Molotov stuff. So yeah, it's it was a great thing for like personal growth for me to tour with IR. Outside of, being able to tour with IR as Murder, it
Yeah.
was it was like, okay, I can take a lot from this too.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. So other than just pushing too much and stuff, kind of like you said, wow, what were some early mistakes you made when learning to do vocals?
One of the biggest mistakes that I made was trying to imitate the singer of the prior singer of Molotov, Kyle Davis, trying to imitate his, not only his vocal style but his like lyric and vocal arrangements, and really just like digging a grave for myself, just doing this like absolute assault of vocals where there's like not a lot of room to breathe,
Yeah.
and not even just between lines, but like between parts of songs. And even so, it still has kind of carried over into the new Molotov stuff, um, where there's still some sections that are just, there's not a lot of breathing. It's just vocals through the entire song. So hopefully with like new stuff, we'll be a little more, I guess, present about that and intentional about that. But yeah, I'd like to like not kill myself. It was to the point where like people hear the art songs and they're like, man, CJ's vocals are crazy, and they go throughout. But I was like, this is easy compared to Molotov. Like thy art was easy. There was like nice gaps for breathing, not only at the end of lines, but like in between parts. And it just, their like writing process as far as vocals went, much better production than like anything that I ever did. So once I figured out how to do his vocals and, knew the songs well enough, it was just easy, where I'd be killing myself every night on stage with Molotov. So
Okay. Was there ever a moment where you had like an aha moment where it all kind of clicked and you were just like, okay, I have a grasp of what to do now to kind of like save my voice and how not to like hurt myself or survive a tour, or whatever.
yeah, which like for me when I was still touring full time with Molotov was kind of just taking my foot off the brake or off the gas a little bit, and just kind of doing um some lines like not at full power, just to save up for, the next more impactful line. um but yeah, no, that's kind of it. Like touring with IART was like a big eye opener for me. It's like, man, you can just leave a breath here and there,
Yeah.
just to like let your lungs like recover a little bit. Because I mean, it's still, they still have like full vocals throughout all of their songs, but it's just way more intentional, way more thoughtful, like when they were writing them, because they're like, I was never thinking about doing it live. I was just thinking about the recording.
Yeah.
And with these new Molotov songs, it was kind of the same way. It was kind of like I wasn't really thinking about doing them live, because we never really like. I don't want to say we didn't intend to play them live. Like we still think like, okay, we could play these songs live. Like if we get a show or whatever, tour, festival, whatever, like these, we would have to play these songs live. And that was kind of the tough thing about doing the one takes for Devour and Mortis, was they were tough. They were not easy to do, but I did it, and got myself in shape. And it's like, okay, like if I can get myself in shape, I could do this no problem. But with, like I said, with new stuff, that's kind of the aha moment, is like when you're writing your songs, think about doing them live. Practice them in like a live scenario before you track them, because once you do, you can go, I would have changed this, or I would have left the breath here, or like maybe you change the structure of your kind of your vocal patterns, or how long you're holding out certain notes, or whatever it is. That's kind of, I guess, the aha moment for me.
Okay. And that's a perfect segue to a question I have a little later, but we're bleeding right into it perfectly. So, do you have a song that you like, a favorite song or part to perform live? And on the opposite side of that, kind of like you said with recording, you don't always necessarily think about live. Like, I need to replicate this live, so you don't think about breathing and like parts and like all that. Is there a part that you kind of look like you dread, if you will? You don't hate it, but you dread coming up because you're like, this is rough. Like, there's no breathing. It's just a rough section for me.
I would say this the song in general, "The Blood of Tyrants," that we did a music video for off of Insurrection, is probably the worst vocally produced song. It's a cool song, don't get me wrong. It sounds awesome. But we played that song live. I don't after Insurrection came out, I mean, I feel like we had to have played that song live. It's been so long I can't even remember. But I remember trying to get back in shape like 2 years later, from when we went on hiatus in 2012 to 2014, and just being like, what the fuck was I thinking writing this song? And it was just like the lines just bled into each other, and there's literally just like no way to properly deliver the lines. And it was brutal. It was like so hard. And I've been listening to a lot of our songs, basically like our entire discography lately, doing a lot of practice and stuff, and listening to Harbinger and Insurrection, which I haven't listened to much of because I've been practicing the Void stuff. But yeah, I was like listening back to that song. It's like I don't even like listening to it because it's so frustrating. I just skip over it. Like it's wild. Um, I think like favorite parts, like favorite songs to deliver. Um, the new stuff is like tough to say, but there is like a lot of cool, um, different vocal delivery that I use. And I would say with Devour the Children, the choruses specifically were like super fun to do, and kind of shifting from like a lower, like a gurglier tone to like more of like a mid throaty kind of yell, is really fun to play off. Kind of going from like a mid to like a pitchy yell to like a low. It was super fun, kind of learning how to do those as a one take, and not like layer, low, then put like a throat, like track a throaty yell, and then like do all the studio stuff. It was really awesome learning that. But I would say like the parts of songs that I would write in studio that I could have like rewritten differently for live would have been more kind of like mosh calls, or kind of like pre-chorus type things, um, where I can kind of just like talk them out, or just like yell them at the crowd in kind of like a different pattern than what was recorded. Stuff like that I really like doing. Like I think like when we were playing live, there was like parts in the final hour, there were parts in songs off the Harbinger with like Enslaved. Um, oh, there's ones in. I think it was off Only the Dead, but it's kind of the same idea where it's almost like a pre-chorus type thing, right before a breakdown, and I think those are like my favorite deliveries because it's like really try to just like aim to amp the crowd up and then come back in with like your hard punching next hard punching line or breakdown or whatever it is.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Um, I like something you said earlier about not imitating people, and you can take, you definitely can take like inspiration from vocalists.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot of people will try to be like the next Phil Bozeman or whoever, you know, and there's already a Phil. You don't need to be the next. You need to find your own voice. And the fact that you were doing that early is definitely a big jump start to you, like learning vocals. You were like, I'm listening to this, I'm going along with the music, but I'm finding what works for me, you know. And then I think that's something that vocalists really need to like hone in on because it's very important to have your own voice, your own style, you know, what works for you.
Yeah, kind of. What was my thing too was like kind of developing an image for yourself that is not, I mean, may not necessarily be like who you are off stage, but kind of who you are on stage.
Yeah.
That also kind of fits your voice. And think about like Mitch Lucker, like he was a monster on
Yeah.
stage, but like off stage, super nice guy, very humble. I think back when Molotov was touring, my whole idea was to come off and be viewed in a similar kind of like I wanted to be scary, but like in a different way than Mitch, where he felt like a monster. I kind of wanted to feel more like militant. I wanted to feel like a drill sergeant or like a I don't know, maybe like some kind of like authoritarian leader, some
Yeah.
kind of dictator, some kind of tyrant or something on stage, some scary force to not be opposed. Um, and that's also what I tried to convey with my voice too. So uh, it was interesting then too, kind of switching gears from Molotov to touring with IR, and I would say my stage appearance was like my voice was slightly different because I was singing more like CJ, but uh my like appearance and demeanor was also kind of different than what I was doing with Molotov too. It was still like I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4", and especially when I was touring with Diard, I was pretty built. Like I had gained a ton of muscle mass from when I was touring with Molotov. I was only like 175 pounds. Flash forward to when I was touring with Diard, I was like 250.
Oh, wow.
So put on a lot of beef and kind of just like was like Tim Lambesis sing my way around stage, and it was very much like a different vibe than what I was doing with Molotov. So I think in the same sense of like, yes, you do have to be unique in your voice, but also kind of crafting your own stage persona too, because as much as the music like death metal, deathcore, hardcore shouldn't be about gimmicks. Like when you look at all the top bands, they kind of all have their own personality,
Yeah.
which is there's a fine line there between gimmick and personality, especially if when you come off stage you're different than what you are on stage. So everyone is playing it up and putting on a front and putting on a show. Even Alex Terrible, like look at that guy, he has the best on stage, on camera personality that we've seen. I would say even since before Mitch Lucker, like he does it. Mitch didn't have Instagram and all that stuff now, and I don't know if he would have even had the kind of same personality that Alex has. But what I'm saying is like you need to separate yourself while being yourself.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. Yeah.
Okay. So do you have a routine you do before vocals, and does it change depending on if you're doing like a one-off show or like a fest, or if you're on tour or you're going to the studio, or even if you're under the weather, sick, any of that?
Um, One thing, so I've done it all. I got like Zen of Screaming, and I did the Melissa Cross stuff on DVD, like, way back in like 2008, maybe. It's
Yeah.
been a long time. But there was like, tongue exercises and facial warm-ups and breathing exercises and stuff like that. And while all of those things help, uh, the best thing that you can do is practice and actually get yourself in shape to do what you're going to do. If you're like a strong man, you can't not lift weights before going to compete in a strongman competition. So it's the same with vocals. It's like if you have a show coming up and you aren't using your voice and practicing your voice, you're probably going to blow it out or sound like shit when you play. Some people might be able to just go up and wing it depending on their vocal style, whatever. That's them. Good for you. But like, I think for me, I kind of did a bit of like all of it. Um, Breathing exercises never really worked for me before the show. It's like either my lungs were in shape or they weren't. They would hurt if they weren't in shape. They'd be fine if they were. Um, but just kind of using your voice like slowly and gently has kind of been my approach. It's kind of been like sing some of the parts of your songs that you like in this tone and sing some of the parts of the songs that you like in this tone. Do some lows, do some highs. Start very gently and kind of just slowly warm your voice up. And the more difficult the line is, the better it is. I think like the facial exercises and the tongue stretching where you like stick your tongue out and move it around and do all that. It does help warm you up. What I started doing that was helping me when I would tour with iArt and doing studio stuff with Molotov more recently has been just getting a pack of gum and sticking some chewing gum in your mouth and just getting your jaw muscles moving,
Yeah.
lubricating your throat, you're getting your, tongue moving again. I'm not like a big talker normally. I'm pretty like quiet, reserved guy unless I'm like with a bunch of friends or, drinking, having a good time, whatever. I'm like a man of fewer words. But I think like if you're not like jabberjawing, which is probably not the best, if you're going to be using your voice to perform, talking a lot, maybe it conditions, I don't know. But just chewing the gum really kind of like gets everything ready to go without like actually having to use your voice. And then, you can do your tongue stretches, you can do your humming that some people like to do. You can do like for me, instead of humming, I just start doing like really low volume growls. It's like a hum, but like with the
Yeah.
part of your throat that you're going to be using anyway. One thing that I really liked too, that I actually picked up from Mitch Lucker when we toured with Suicide Silence, was he would kind of like once he was ready to go, like just before going on stage, you would always hear him just screaming, "Hi, hi, hi, hi." He would do like his lows. He would do like highs and lows, and he would kind of just really like take it to that next level from like his, earlier warm up stuff to then like, okay, now I'm going on stage and I'm just gonna like, hi, hi, like do what I can to get my volume in my throat prepared to go out. I think that's also good too. So you don't maybe just, do some low volume growls, humming, whatever backstage, and then you go out on stage and your voice isn't really ready for that like top, you know, volume, top power, top push. Um, but that really is something that I've kind of held on to as well.
Okay.
It's like see if my voice is ready to go on stage, because if it's not, then I got to do some more warm ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of what you said about like getting your voice ready and keeping it conditioned, it kind of a lot of people. I mean, it makes sense because you'll hear a lot of people talking about the first week of tour, little rough, and essentially
Hmm.
they're just getting their voice in shape during that time.
Yep.
Like it's out of shape, and then once it gets conditioned, then like the tour, it's easy. They don't really have to worry about much, but getting it to that point. So yeah, definitely all checks out to do that.
Yeah, there were some tours that I did with Molotov where we would practice a lot before going out, and I wouldn't even need the first week. Like we would just be like ready to go, which is great. You know that you're very prepared.
Yeah.
And then there were other times where we didn't take it that seriously and we just went out on tour and I was like blew my voice out first day,
Yeah.
and then spent 2 weeks trying to recover. Especially if we were touring in like the winter or something like that, when you're like you get sick too and you deal with trying to like recover from that the whole time. But I think if you need that first week, you're not doing your job completely. Like you're not fully prepared to go on that tour, which is like it's fine. Like, but at a certain level, if you're not prepared, you're kind of letting your band down. You're putting off kind of like a shit performance, and you're putting, you're letting your fans down. You're letting it, and it may be only noticeable to you if you're the vocalist, but like at the same time, you want to be the best you can be. You better make sure you're ready for
Yeah.
that tour. That's what I've been telling a lot of my friends. It's like practice, like practice like full songs. Like don't practice like lines here and there. Practice your breathing, get your lungs in shape. Like I can't even understate like how embarrassed I was. And it was just like me, Robbie, and my buddy Josh, who plays guitar, bass or guitar and of sulfur. He does like a lot of the engineering work when I'm tracking stuff here in Vegas. And it was just him, Robbie, and I. And we get to the studio and I can't even get through the first line. And I'm like, fuck, I'm sorry, guys. Like, this sucks. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Like, give me 2 weeks and I'll be back at the top of my game. Um, but yeah, practice. Like, if you want to be good at something, you have to practice it. Like,
100%.
some things come naturally to people, and people are just like naturally good at them. I would say that I was naturally good at vocals, but to do it at a high level, I had to practice. And I didn't practice even to do I practiced a lot going into the studio to record Void with Will Putney, to the point where like I was over prepared. Like we went to the studio, we knocked that shit out. I did stuff that I didn't think I could do. Like it was a great experience. But I was over prepared. I was busting my ass. I was in the studio tracking features. I tracked like a whole other EP for some friends band that will probably never see the light of day. I was like we did full pre-production for the Molotov songs, like just working hard in studio. But yeah, nothing can be just practicing. If you want to be good at skateboarding, you have to practice. If you want to be good at, you want to be strong and be a good power lifter, you have to lift weights. Like if you want to be a vocalist, you have to do vocals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How was doing vocals and recording with Putney? How was that whole process for you?
It was really weird because it felt like we didn't really miss a beat. We tracked Insurrection with him
Right.
back in like 2011, and then it was 10 years later, and it felt like we were there 2 weeks later. Like it didn't feel weird at all. We were like, everybody just felt the same. You would think that like 10 years is like a long time, but I mean looking back, when I toured with IART, it was 2016, and that was 9 years ago, and that feels like it was yesterday. So
Time
I mean,
flies.
yeah, the older you get, the faster it goes too.
Oh,
I think it's
100%.
like
And it's
crazy.
Putney. It's not like he's not a big name or anything like that in the metal industry producing. It's not like he's a big deal or nothing.
No, he's basically like a nobody. No, but I mean, like he just like I've always clicked really hard with Will. I think like Robbie and Will got along very well and just have like a very good understanding of how each other think.
Yeah.
And he really helped me kind of progress my vocals with Insurrection, and it it really just felt like a continuation off of that. Like it felt like we were there 2 years later instead of 10 years later. Like it felt we were just tracking our next thing. And I mean, his setup is in his home now, and it's so super nice. And I can't say like enough good things about Will. We have like the same favorite. I mean, at the time we had the same favorite bands. He even with his side projects, it's like music that like I love, and so we just kind of vibe. And yeah, I mean, we're not really thinking about like how big his name is. It's like we wanted to work with him because of how he makes us sound.
Yeah.
And I think we got like exactly what we wanted out of it. And I was pumped that he even took us on because he's so busy and works with huge bands, like doesn't, and we're not a huge band by any means. Like we fell off maybe when we were kind of like on the up and up, but then hadn't been a band for 10 years. So it just it was really awesome to work with him. It was very humbling also to kind of work with somebody that has worked with so many great bands since we worked with him the last time. Fit for an Autopsy is one of my favorite bands, and just to kind of get compliments from Will, where I know he has Joe, and Joe is such an amazing vocalist, and Joe is one of, I mean, me and Joe are friends, and Joe's like, well, I learned from you, dude. And I'm like, that's great, but you still are my, like, my favorite vocalist. And he's like, yeah, but I was like, listening to Molotov and like trying to figure out my voice. And I'm like, that's great. And maybe by saying you sound good, then I'm kind of jerking my own self off. But like, that's the vocal style that I like. Like I like my vocal style, and I guess he does it well. He does it better than I do it. And so I love Joe's voice, and to be in the studio with Will and him being like, you nailed that, or like you crushed that, or that was awesome, dude. Like, how did you do that? I'm like, it made me feel so good. It made
Oh
me
yeah.
feel like I wasn't missing a beat. I mean, I had a little bit more, you know, time to play because I was doing the stuff with art. So I was like more still kind of 1 foot in the music scene and doing band stuff. Whereas like Robbie wasn't really, and then Jake was, he's been doing country for the past 10 years or whatever. But yeah, it was pretty humbling, and it was like a surreal experience too, because it just felt like we were picking up like where we left off 10 years ago. It's crazy.
It goes a long way having like a great relationship with your producer like that. I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, common interest, just getting along, like that chemistry goes a long way to the final product too, and the
Yep.
overall experience. So I mean
Yep.
that's huge, and that helps a ton.
Yep. We carried through basically all of our old inside jokes from that time.
That's
After
awesome.
we tracked with Putney too, like we took Fit for an Autopsy on tour with us. That's when I sang for them. Was pulling double duty. But like we had a really like close and good relationship with those guys, and something that I maintained through the years, hanging out with them. And Richie and Shane, when Molotov went on hiatus, they played with Fit for an Autopsy for a little bit, and it just like laughing at fart jokes and like just having a good time. Like it was like a nice like 2 week vacation. We were kind of just in a house like making music. It was awesome.
Hell yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So what do you do routine wise when you're sick? Do you change anything on your routine? Kind of going back to that
My big thing was just like not talking.
vocal rest. Just
Yeah, just complete vocal rest to the point where like, I mean, this was 15 to 13 years ago, whatever. But I would do like, I would like I would like text my bandmates like my order for Taco Bell. Like I would use like text to chat where it'd be like a robot saying what I was saying, and everybody would be like quiet, like trying to listen to like what my phone was saying, and then people were just like trashing me and make fun of me and whatever. I even got sick on one of the Thy Art tours, and was like, I'm gonna do vocal rest. And I remember we were in Budapest, and the guy that had done the artwork for Insurrection, and then the Insurrection remaster grind design, his name is Robert Borbas. He lives there, and I was like, oh shit, like I'm on vocal rest, but I gotta like see this dude. So I like, said hi to him, and he was also friends with the Thyroid guy. So like I took him backstage and introduced him to them, and then I was like, all right, I'm done talking. I gotta like rest my voice because I don't want to, butcher these guys. They're actually paying me to come out here and do this, so I gotta like not fuck this up. I can't be like drinking and partying and stuff. And then I go back and I'm like watching Architects or something, and then there's like some girl that like wants to talk to me, and I'm like, I'm on vocal rest. Like, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you. And it was like some cute girl, and she was like, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, I like, not to say that I'm not interested, but like, I can't talk. Sorry, you gotta have to like find another guy to talk to tonight or whatever. But Yeah, that's kind of my like big thing is like I would blow my voice out, so I would really need to like baby it, and so it would be like throat coat, like warm, warm tea, not hot tea, no sugar, alcohol, cigarettes like are bad. And when I was touring with Molotov, I was straight edge, so alcohol wasn't an issue. But when I was touring with Art, it was. Um, so yeah, if you're resting your voice, no alcohol, no hot, no like hot or cold beverages, and vocal rest really.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fun stuff of being a vocalist, we don't get to like, I don't know, guitar out of tune and stuff. We have to sit there and you may wake up one morning feeling great. You may wake up one morning sick, and you're like, oh, this is gonna suck. It's gonna be
That's
a rough
also the
day.
interesting about like traveling across, especially the United States, like, Europe, maybe the climate isn't so like extraordinarily different as you go from country to country, but across the US you have mountains, desert, you have like swampy ass south, you have, I don't know, rainy Pacific Northwest, you have California, you have like so many different climates and different like allergens. If you have allergies, like shit, take some allergy pills with you because you don't know what's like. You're gonna wake up in the Pacific Northwest and you're gonna get hay fever and you're gonna feel like you're gonna die, which sucks if you're trying to use your voice,
Yep.
especially. But dude, if it's cold, if it's like the winter and it's like raining and you're in like the Northeast, it's just raining every city you go to and you're living in a van and you're wearing flip flops or Vans Authentics and you're just like so exposed to the elements and you're sick, it's so hard to get healthy again. So you're just like, dude, I went like 11 days without speaking before,
Wow.
like no words, just trying to get healthy again. So it's it can be rough. Like for me, I pushed pretty hard back then. So like if I hurt my voice, like it was damaged and it took a long time to kind of get it back up. But yeah, it's brutal.
What all did you do for vocal care, just as far as like to help it? Like you mentioned the teas and stuff like that, like the warm tea. Did you do anything else other than throat coats, vocal or tea and
Like
stuff?
different cough drops, especially like if you can find like some alcohol-free cough drops, like Ricolas or natural like throat lozenges.
Yeah.
um, but that's really it. Vocal rest and dude, making sure you're in shape. One thing that's like a preventative is like we didn't use in-ears. And so if the monitors were kind of shot, it would for like I would push harder to like hear myself
Yeah.
better, which is like a bad thing to do. And so if you don't have good monitors, like don't kill yourself. Just keep trying, just try to get through it, I would say. Um, but that was kind of what would end up biting me in the ass a lot of times was like pushing too hard because I couldn't hear myself and then
Yeah.
I would blow my voice out and then I would, pay the price for it. But that's like a preventative thing. Make sure you have good monitors and you can hear yourself. And if you can't, don't kill yourself trying to sound louder or better.
The good old roll of the dice of the venues, monitors, and PA
Yeah.
system. Hoping for
Yeah.
the best, but yeah, a lot of times can't hear anything at all.
Yeah.
It's always great. We're gonna shift gears a little bit. Where do you pull from for lyrics? Are you more of a conceptual guy? Are you a personal guy? Like personal experience? Do you kind of blend the two together? Like what is your go to? What do you do usually?
It's a bit of blending the two. I mentioned the other EP that I wrote when I was writing the Molotov EP. It was really all personal. Um, and that was kind of taking like concepts or like personal ideas and then expanding on them. One of the song ideas was given to me by one of the members of the band, and he was like, I want you to use this idea, like make this a part of the songs however you do it. And I kind of just sculpted everything else around that. With Molotov, it's a bit different. I think it's like what I do really is whatever. Like I don't take a lot of lyrical inspiration from listening to metal bands. I take like lyrical inspiration from listening to like pop bands or I don't know, like indie rock bands or like I guess like as far as I would go would be like new metal bands, but like not death metal or deathcore. I don't get any real lyrical inspiration from those. A lot of times you can't understand what they're saying anyway. So hard for me as like somebody that wants to be heard and understood to listen to like a lot of deathcore where you can't like it's just noises most of the time. Um, you can understand, things here and there, but it's not like the best place for me to kind of draw inspiration from. But I listen to, you know, I guess when I was writing a lot for Molotov back in the day was like I liked a lot of Thrice. I listened to Brand New a lot, um, and I would kind of draw like vocal inspiration from them, not so much like lyrical, but like a little bit of both. And then I kind of pick things up from either like current world events, which is kind of like how like the political landscape is nowadays. It's kind of like the TikTok brain as well, where everything's kind of on a 24-hour news cycle. But I kind of will hear things um, and pass them through like my brain as a filter, and then create a line of lyrics
Okay.
about whatever, if it's a subject, if it's a direct line that somebody had said, if it's a quote from like a video game that I liked or a quote from an anime that I liked, I'll kind of take something from those, a book that I'm reading, um, and like I said, pass it through like my brain as a filter and then recontextualize that thought or that idea into something that fits what I'm going for. And so, I mean, I don't know if you will even be able to see, but I can kind of show you if it'll show up on the camera here. But I have like a file on here called Molotov Lyric Concepts, and it's just a note document, and it's just
Oh, that's
like
sick.
pages and pages and pages long.
And you just will
Like
take like a section or something of that and then build off of it, like just expand on that idea or that line.
basically, what I like to do then is like take all of the like compiled lyrics that I've written and put it into like a Word document on my laptop or on my computer and like scroll through it and kind of like reread the stuff that I've written and then kind of come up with like a grand overarching theme for a song.
Okay.
And then I can kind of then read back through the lyrics and kind of find things that I liked that I think kind of fit that
Yeah.
and plug them into that then whatever like that song document has become. And then I can use those ideas. Some of them might get used for the song, some might be trashed, some might be rewritten, but then I can kind of like write then my song that way. Have like one overarching idea that I want to like write the song about and then kind of plug and play maybe some cool one-liners that I wrote down or maybe it is just like a longer lyric that I put together that can be like 3 or 4 lines long and repurpose other stuff and move it around and kind of figure out the song that way. But it's hard for me to do that. Like I can conceptualize stuff and be like without having music and be like I want to write a song about this. I want to write a song about this. I want to write a song about this. But it's it's much easier for me to also do that when I actually have like at least a pre-production version of a song ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way I can be like I can get more of a feel for the song and be like this is the right like tone, like this is the right lyrical tone for this song. And so it's a mishmash. Like if I'm not writing for Molotov, it is more personal. um but Molotov is a bit disjointed from personal because it is like heavy with political themes. And so I take personal feelings and emotions and want to convey how I feel about these political themes in the songs, but also wanting to like stick to the idea of like why I'm upset as well lyrically. So
Okay.
It is a bit of a mismatch.
How did Molotov come about being more of a political theme? What was the idea behind that,
I
or just
think
what
it was
inspired it?
not. I think it was 9/11 mostly. Um, I didn't begin it. I didn't choose it. I just kind of carried it on and
Okay.
have kind of adapted it to like my own style. Whereas the original vocalist of Molotov, Kyle, was more of like a historical, factual numbers kind of guy, and I'm kind of more. I I take historical and statistical information into mind when I'm writing my songs, but I try to convey it in more of like an abstract way, so it's
Okay.
not as like in your face. Um, and I think with Void, it's kind of not quite like where I'd like it to be lyrically, but I think it's like the next step. And I think with whatever we do next, will hopefully I'll be able to kind of get it to where I want with the levels of like how it's abstract but still politically charged and I don't want to say like controversial, but make just and maybe enough to make controversial enough to make people think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thought inspiring or provoking.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I have to ask. You brought it up. So you said favorite video games to anime. What would those be? I have to. I have to touch on it because you. What do you have for
Um,
us?
I guess for video games, I mean, I've been playing a lot of World of Warcraft lately. WoW,
Ah,
WoW Classic.
yes.
Love it or hate it. I think everyone gets to a point where if they did play it, they start to hate it, and then they don't play it anymore.
That's my cycle. I started playing that years ago, and I no lifed it back in like doing the band stuff. It was like band and that.
Yeah,
It's like those are the two things I was doing constantly. I was working, but like that was sprinkled in like any free
yeah,
time playing WoW or band stuff.
yeah. So
And
I'm playing Classic, and it's great because I didn't get to play a lot of the end game stuff when it was like I was playing it back in like 2005, 2006, but I didn't really get to like the end game
yeah,
and get to do any of the raiding or PvP stuff. So I'm pretty stoked as the phases are coming out to be able to do that. I'm a big Zelda. I'm a big Final Fantasy guy. I love
okay,
like Japanese RPG stuff. I was a big MOBA player, but I've been taking a break from Dota. Um, Not League of Legends, but Dota 2. And I mean, my whole life I've been playing Pokemon and all, every version of that since they've come out. Um, but those are kind of like my big ones, like I like, God of War, and I like, the Spider-Man games that have come out on PS5, and I, play a lot of the single player stuff like Elden Ring
yeah,
and all that, but just like not super into that right now. It's like if I'm not playing WoW, I'm wasting time by doing other things. So I actually have my best friend is a big retro gamer too. He has a like a little like retro. I don't know if it's like an online gaming store or like company what you call it, but he's Mr. Game and Lift, and I've been telling him lately that I've been wanting to pick up Pokemon Crystal and play it. I've just been having this like crazy Pokemon nostalgia thing where I haven't actually done it, but he sent me this like souped up Game Boy Color, and
that's sick.
I'm gonna plug it in, and I while we were actually in the studio with Putney, I put a new battery in my old Crystal game because the little internal like memory battery had died over the years. So I think I'm gonna pick that up and play that. But for anime, I just started watching Delicious Dungeon on Netflix. I think my big ones are Bleach. Um, Everyone says Dragon Ball, but I recently got into One Piece, like after trying over and over and over again, getting like 50 to 100 episodes in on probably like four different attempts to like get into One Piece. I finally was able to get into it and am caught up with the show. Like
Wow. Yeah.
thousand, I think it's like 1,100 episodes or something now. But yeah, like watched it all, enjoyed it. I'm gonna go back and like I think they have like a lot of the One Piece movies on Netflix. I'm gonna go back and like watch all of those. But just kind of like your typical like fantasy adventure
Okay.
stuff gets me really good. You know, Demon Slayer and Fire Force and all that stuff. It's like My Hero. Like I watch all of it. Like
Hell
I
yeah.
I watch enough of it that like the stuff that's available on like Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime. Dude, Vinland Saga was such a good one too. I if I just like I watch them too much that like I'm like like how did I just finish watching Bleach? How is there no like new season of Demon Slayer? How are they all like not staggered well enough that like if I could wait like a couple weeks there's like something new. But One Piece is releasing new episodes right now, so I'm like relatively happy doing that. Dragon Ball Daima, I feel like a bunch of people would hate me for this, but I feel like Dragon Ball Daima was a bit of a letdown. Like it was cool to see the red monkey Super Saiyan form, but it was just like a Super Saiyan 4, but yeah, it just wasn't. I don't know. Didn't hit the same as the old stuff did. But who knows? Maybe it's cool for younger kids watching it for the first time now. I don't know.
Hell yeah. So you've
Yeah.
been playing WoW on and off the whole time? Going back to WoW, I'm full
Yeah,
nerd.
like a
Because I do the same
bit.
thing. I'll.
Yeah, like I played vanilla and never made it to late game, but like, just beat my head against the wall trying to level and never really even got to the end. And then I played a little bit of BC, but like not enough to like I don't know, like even do dungeons or anything like that. I got into raiding in Wrath of the Lich King and did Ice Crown Citadel and all that stuff. Um, but then played tiny bit of Cataclysm, a tiny bit of Mists of Pandaria, and then nothing else until like Legion, and thought Legion was pretty good, but then again like didn't get to endgame in Legion.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of kept doing the same thing. I had a friend, like one of my best friends was super into WoW. Like he played every expansion and it was like in the late game on end game on all of them. And he would always kind of reel me back and like I liked WoW, but I just didn't love it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think it was kind of like starting behind the curve is what made it shitty.
Yeah.
And so with this anniversary WoW Classic, I didn't really start behind the curve. And I also had friends and a guild that were like helping me out too. So it just it's better when you have like a community, I
Oh yeah.
guess, when you have people to play with. And now like my guild is, raiding once a week and doing all that. So it's fun.
Yeah.
It's
Hell
I'm
yeah.
getting to do stuff I never got to do but always wanted to.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's nice. Who
I
knows
would.
what'll happen when the baby gets here? I don't know if I'll have time to keep playing, but we'll see. We'll see.
You'll be like one of those dads like feeding and like playing or
Yeah,
trying to like
click.
run around.
I need to get one of those like 18 button mouses where I can just like
There
play
you
with one
go.
hand. Yeah.
I'd do the same though. I'd play an expansion, kind of get going, then I'd kind of hit like a wall, and I would stop, and then I'd get reeled back in, and
Yeah.
then it's like a cycle. And then I'll get like the itch during in between expansion. I'm like, I miss WoW, and I'll have to go like play again, and
Yeah.
it's like a never
Mine
ending
was
cycle
very
with
much
me.
the same. 100%. Yeah.
Um, I'm kind of new to the anime, but Demon Slayer
Yeah.
is
Demon Slayer's cool.
fantastic. I'm super stoked for the movies. Um,
Yeah.
I got caught up, and I actually had to go read all the manga, and because I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, I have to know, like, I can't wait like years to know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I got so into it. So me and my wife actually both read the whole manga.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And
My
then
wife is not into anime really either, but she loves Demon Slayer. So,
hell yeah.
yeah.
That's what me and her have been checking out anime together. We get suggestions. We've watched Solo Leveling. We're caught up on it. We've
Oh,
watched
yeah.
like Kaiju #8. I think I've started Parasite, and we
Parasite's
just
good.
started JJK. Everyone keeps telling me to watch JJK.
Oh, yeah. So JJK is like that first season. I was like, holy shit, this is like the coolest anime I've seen and since like Bleach, right? Like I was like, this is fucking awesome. Probably cooler than Bleach, but there's just like not a lot of it. And I didn't love the second season. I was like a bit let down off it. I feel like they did so well with the first season that the second season was kind of like I don't know. It didn't seem like it had a lot of direction.
Yeah. Okay.
but it was still cool. It just didn't like they feel very different, the
Hmm.
two seasons.
Interesting.
But that
Brotherhood, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood's one that keeps getting suggested to me
oh, very
constantly.
good.
Yeah,
Yes.
I hear that's
So
amazing.
when I was writing The Harbinger, I was deep into the FMA stuff. And so there's Full Metal Alchemist.
Mhm.
It I don't know if you know the story, but it kind of like surpassed the manga, and they kind of started doing their, I don't want to say it's like their own. I'm sure they had some direction of like where the story was going to go, but it kind of veers away from like what was written before.
Oh, okay.
Then Brotherhood is like a correct envisioning of the full series. And then there's also a movie called The Conqueror of Shambhala that's really good too. Um, I if I were you, I would just watch Brotherhood, but you could watch both and see the differences.
Okay.
Brotherhood has like a little bit more of the goofiness, and it's like more fun, but like still very dark. Um, very very good anime. Yeah.
I've watched Berserk, and that's a fucked up anime. Like that
Yeah,
was it was really good though.
yeah. It's a cult classic. It's old.
Yeah.
There's the Golden Age arc, that the
Mhm.
movies that they did on Netflix is pretty sick,
Yeah,
and
that's that's
I
what I
just
watched
wish.
first, and then I went back to the old '90s. I think it was in the '90s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It
'90s
was
one.
like an HBO or like a Showtime series, but for as like popular and as like culty as that anime is, you would think like they would be able to get it right. And I feel like I know that maybe there's supposed to be like a new
I think I've
anime
heard
coming out,
something.
something, but it just like you would think that they would be able to figure it out and get it right, and they just like seemingly can't do that series justice. So it's kind of a bummer.
All right, we completely derailed, but that
Yeah,
yeah, anime and video game talk. I mean, you can't resist. You have
yeah,
to do it when you can.
yeah.
Okay, so back to lyrics. Do you have a lyricist that you admire or look up to?
Um, I mean, I guess I would say like without like jerking him off too much, but like Will Putney, um, I really love the work that he did with Thy Art.
Okay.
And I know that like CJ was pretty hands off when it came to writing their songs. And I know that Marshy, their guitar player, did write a lot as well. Um, I don't know, exactly how much, or who wrote what or how much of it, but I love Thy Art's lyrics.
Okay.
I love the flow that they have. I love just kind of the tones and stuff that they talk about. I think the Holy War album, like the lyrical content, is so cool. Dear Desolation as well is just like very ethereal, evil, apocalyptic, and just kind of like this metaphysical, cosmic kind of. It's just so different from like a lot of stuff that I've heard. It's like the combination of like the like ethereal cosmic gent stuff that was like popular around then, and like the brutal death metal stuff kind of all just like merged in. A lot of it has like this like kind of naturalist, like hippie vibe of like human extinction or human annihilation, and like almost like a vegan, like a PETA ad kind of a thing. Like the animals are gonna like rise up and kill all the people. Like, and I think even into like their newer stuff, it still kind of has that. But those two albums are the ones that like I vibed with the most.
Okay.
Hate was a little bit different, I guess, lyrically. Still great, but those two are awesome. I think also I've been revisiting this a lot lately too. It's like I've been listening to old Molotov and a lot of old Thrice, and I don't know if Dustin was like their main lyricist, but he was the front man and he sang all the songs, so I would assume so. But like his lyrical content too is just so thought provoking and like humbling at the same time. So I would say, yeah, he's probably my favorite like lyricist vocalist, but then
Okay.
I would say like Thy Art. oddly enough. I also really love Fit for an Autopsy's songs, lyrics, stuff like that as well. And so I feel like to me those are kind of like Will Putney, like
Mm.
Viart and Fit. It's just like I know that he has a very heavy hand in what they're writing, if not, writing the majority of, if not all of it. So yeah, Will.
Okay.
Funny enough, one of Will's favorite bands was Thrice too. So that's kind of how we vibed,
Hell yeah.
um,
All right.
in that same sense.
All right. Got a tough one for you. This one, I had to make it kind of a double side. But favorite lyric. It can be someone else's, or it can be your own, or it can be both. You can have one of each if you want. But I know this is a tough one.
Um, I'm gonna go with Viart. I think it's either Puppet Master. I'm trying to pull this up. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
It's either Puppet Master or Slaves Beyond Death. There's also shit. There's also a Viart single. Um, that came out that's not on any of their albums, and I'm like, it wasn't Killing Season. Oh, you know what? Maybe um it was Depression Sessions. They Will Know Another. Um, that song is so good. Uh, Lyrical content all the way through it to their like one-liners. One more child that we couldn't save, just another life smothered. We thought that we could take away the pain, but they will know another. I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid I'll survive and I will watch you suffer. I just think like that whole thing was kind of like prophetic. It came out in 2016. And it was the last thing that CJ did with the band before he left and then came back. So they released that song when I was touring with them. And then fast forward to 2020, I just felt like it was very prophetic of like the pandemic and kind of how human life was treated around that time. And yeah,
Okay.
I just thought it was great. I guess like favorite lyric, um, I was thinking like when you sent me the questions for this, I was like thinking about it and I didn't. I should have like had it pulled up. And I just love that Dear Desolation album in general. Like it just has such like a groove, like a flow, even with the lyrics. It's not just like the music and the guitars, like the riffing in that is so sick. But there's the line, it's like a pre-chorus or whatever, but it's don't say a prayer for me, don't fucking stare at me. I didn't ask for your help, no gods, no masters. Think for your fucking self. Like the delivery of that line was very sick. It's kind of like cliche, like no gods, no masters. Like everybody says that, but just delivery. It was just like so clean, so well done. And then I think my favorite, like that's my favorite lyric delivered. But then I think my favorite lyric that they have is "A life of no consequence is now your fucking death sentence,"
Oh,
which is just it's brutal. Like the whole song is slaves beyond death, but I just love that line. A life
okay.
of no we'll take out the fucking, but like a life of no consequence is now your death sentence is like sick. I don't know.
That
They
is
have
sick.
some heavy lyrics all throughout that album, but that one is sick. I'm not like a like a no god. Like I don't like the institution of religion. I've always like sang about it in a very negative way. But I'm not like a like a anti-theist or an atheist or anything like that, I would even say. But a lot of their themes are super heavy, like that. And another, like, to go back even more, was the song Light Bearer, which is literally just about like Lucifer coming back as like the Messiah. Um, again, and just like another like really really good delivery was like, I guess towards the end, Lucifer, Light Bearer, bring us rebirth, and like line really cool, delivery also really cool, but again, like, not a Luciferian.
Hell
So
yeah.
like, doesn't fit my like worldview, but it's like just sick, and it's metal as fuck too. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, I guess,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Do you have any tips for new songwriters as far as like lyrically, patterns, flow, all that good stuff?
just do it. Like, with technology and the way things are right now, if you have an idea, track it. If you don't like it, change it. Like, I have one of my really good friends. I have a couple of good friends that are like, making music and stuff right now, just here home in Vegas. And I think like a lot of people have this like fear of failure, and the fear of failure will hold people back from failing. But failing is kind of how you progress. And so if you don't ever track the part, if you don't ever do the vocals, you're never going to even be able to fail, and you won't be able to succeed either. So like, the fear of failure will keep you from success, but at the same time, you'll also just live in regret of not doing it. And so if I had one tip, it would be not to be fearless, but like to be brave enough just to put it down and get it out.
Okay. Oh yeah. I like that.
Like Nike, just do it.
Yeah, I literally was gonna say something like at the beginning. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna avoid that.
Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
I think the way you approach lyrics too. You touched on it earlier, but I like that, and I kind of do a similar thing where just as you get ideas, you kind of write them down, and then you go revisit them later, and kind of like
Yeah.
maybe flesh them out more, see what that inspires you to kind of like expand on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just anything that comes to your mind, like idea wise, or like you said, a video game, an anime, TV show, whatever. If there's a line that you're like, I like that, write it down. Just
Yeah.
jot them down, and then go back later and go through them and see what you have, and you may have
Dude,
some stuff.
before iPhones were waterproof, do you know how many times I would just be in the shower, just like fucking shampooing my hair, and then thinking about something, or just like really vibing with like a line that I'm writing in my head, and then I get out of the shower and I'm like, fuck, what
Yep.
was that? Dude, take your phone into the fucking shower with you and write that shit down. Take a break from the
That
shower
is the
and
worst feeling when you're
yes,
like,
yes.
oh, this line is so sick, and you're like,
Yeah.
you're trying to remember it, and you're like saying it over and over again. Then you go to write, and you're like, fuck, what was that line? Like,
Yeah.
what did I say?
Jamming to a song on the way to work, and then just being like, just writing shit in my head as I'm driving, and like, I can't forget this, I can't forget this, I can't forget this. Get off the freeway, pull into the parking spot, and like try to write it down as fast as I can so I don't forget it. But then there's times too where I'll go back and I'll be like, what the fuck was I thinking? This is the dumbest shit I've ever read. Like, it sounds like an 8-year-old, or like a 13, like an 8th grader wrote this. Like a 13-year-old was like, I hate my mom and I hate my dad. Like, it's like just like the dumbest shit on earth too. So, there's pros and cons with it,
Yeah.
but like, definitely just get it down and get it out. Like, you'll know like when you record it if it sucks or not. So
Okay.
track it and then change it if it sucks,
Hell
or
yeah.
scrap it and start over.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Got a fun question for you.
Cool.
And this one is inspired by Adam D and Commodina of Body Snatcher. Do you have a favorite call out? Because we all know there's like the normal ones that a lot of people do. Normal, like, come on, let's go, like riling up the crowd, anything to get people moving and going. And then there's the like completely unhinged, off the wall shit that you're just like, this heavy part's coming and they're talking about something completely random, like no guac chipotle or something just insane that you're like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? And then all hell breaks loose.
There's a call out that I did one time on YouTube. This is on YouTube. I'm not going to say what song or where or when.
You can go find it yourself.
But
everybody.
I literally told the crowd to shove their fists so far up someone's ass that I can smell the shit. Um, that's there. That happened at some point. I used to like kind of like how Kyle does now. I used to try to like one up myself or like with other bands on tour we try to one up each other every night with just like the most ridiculous mosh calls. And that was on tour with Dr. Acula. So
Oh
it was
God.
like, there was some weird shit going on. Um but yeah, that and I just love spinning the fucking room. Like I haven't played shows with any bands other than the artist Murder since 2014. It's just been them, and they have like great circle pit parts. They have like awesome solos in all their songs too. So I love to like get people's like fists in the air and do like hey,
Yeah.
hey, hey, or like let me see your fucking horns. And it's just like it's so awesome when you do that and everybody just goes ha, like throws their horn. That's like it's really, really like sick. But there's no better like feeling, especially like as a frontman, when you just see like a whirlwind of people just like spinning around. And I'm a hardcore kid. Like I love to mosh. I love crowd killing. I love like spin kicks. I love windmills to people's faces. Like that's my shit. I love hardcore dancing. It's awesome. But I also am like I grew up in Henderson, loved metalcore, love a good push pit, love some good bro mosh. I never, when I was young, liked circle pits. Like it just, I hated it. I'm tall, I'm gangly. Like it was just never really my thing to like run in a circle. And dude, being on tour with IART, standing up on the box and just being like, spin this motherfucker, and it just like people going and like, oh, it's so insane. It's like the one of the coolest things ever. I love it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. We got a sports inspired question.
Okay.
Do you have any pre-show or studio rituals? And that could be anything from like, I need to wear these socks. I need to wear the show shoes. I need to do push-ups before I play. This stretching. I mean, I've had everything from that to even like when I'm in the studio, I have to have light blue Gatorade. Like, there's this different things, superstitious stuff. Is there anything like that you have to do?
Kind of. With Thyar, I barely knew those guys. I had met them very briefly, and when we were in New Jersey, we were on tour. They were recording with Putney. They came out and played a show with us. We said hello, did pleasantries, and that was pretty much it. Then they came to Vegas, played Extreme Thing, and they were like, "We want to hang out with Nick." I think like Shane from Molotov was friends with them, and he brought me backstage to hang out with them, and they were like all stoked and wanted to take pictures and stuff, and hung out with them very briefly then too. But then when they asked me to sing for them, like I didn't really know these guys. Like I had just barely met them, exchanged pleasantries, and that was like really it. They flew me out to Europe for the first tour that I did with them, and it was with Parkway Drive. And the first show was 4,000 people sold out. The second show was 6,000 people sold out.
Jesus.
And I barely knew the songs. We rehearsed for a day, there was like less than 12 inches of room from the front of our like drum bass drum to like the front monitor, so I like had no room to move around on stage, and it was just like stressful as hell, dude. And we started doing shots of Jameson before the show to kind of like ease the nerves a little. And by the time the second tour came around, we were doing like bottles of Jameson to ease the nerves before the show would come around. So that was kind of like our pre-show routine was like, loosening up with some JMO and kind of doing that. Also, their bass player Kevy is a power lifter too. My best friend is a power lifter. Kevy's a power lifter, and I did some powerlifting too, like never competitively, but love doing it. And when I was touring with them, I was like pretty big, and me and Kev would just be there like doing some curls for the girls and like shrugs and shoulder raises and stuff. And when you're wearing like the cutoff shirt and you get all the blood in there, like right before going out on stage, you just look like you look like Tim Lambesis. It was fun, but yeah, it was kind of it.
Okay.
Thin the blood out, get the blood flowing, and yeah, look like a psychopath when you go on stage.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed JMO is like the common drink on tour. It seems like with people like that's like a staple. A lot of bands go to to Jameson?
Yeah. Jack, Jaeger,
Oh yeah.
and JMO, I guess. Yeah. JMO's my favorite, but yeah. I don't really like Jack.
A lot of people have said Jameson. Like
Yeah.
it's.
Smooth.
Oh yeah.
You don't need a chaser really,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. Do you have any fun tour stories you can share with us? That you can share. We got. I guess I always have to preface that because there's definitely stuff that doesn't need to be said and see the light of
I'll
day. Probably.
say, I guess I'll say fun. Yeah, I'll kind of keep some stuff, but there were times, like I said, we would start on that first tour that I did with our Parkway Drive and Architects. We started doing like a shot of Jameson before going out on stage. And then the second tour that I did with them was like a big tour. It was like Thy Art, Whitechapel, co-headline, Carnifex, Obey the Brave, Make Them Suffer. There were like a bunch of bands on it. It was like a Empiricon Fest tour. And it was a party tour for sure. Like everybody was just you know having the best time. And we played late, whereas like on the Parkway Drive tour we played first, so we only had time for a shot. We didn't have time to do much other drinking beyond that. But like when we were done, we would party afterwards. Uh, on that second tour, we were drinking a lot because we were waiting around all fucking night to go on stage. And there was a few times where I would go on stage and I was three sheets to the wind. And we would open the set with Holy War, and I would be like, how does the song start? What are the words? Like, I don't, like, you got to help me out because I don't know what to do here. And I never tripped up the whole tour, but there were literally like nights where I would walk out and it would be like, and I would be like, oh my God, dude, I don't know the words of this song. And then song would start and they would like come to me and we'd be fine. But that was kind of it. There was one night where we partied a little. I specifically partied a little too hard and was like dealing with this massive hangover the whole day, and it was freezing cold, and we were in Poland, and I couldn't even sit up. I was so hungover. And then it got to the point where we were like 10 minutes out from starting our set. I jumped in the shower real quick, like cold showered it, threw my stage clothes on and got on stage. And little did I know that Marshy, who hadn't really, I mean, he had been drinking with us, but like he decided this night he was going to be the most drunk. And I was stone sober, like just miserable. And he was wasted. He was like, I love you, man. I'm so stoked to be like across the world playing shows with you. And then he's like trying to push me off stage, and I'm literally like just standing still trying to like get through the set. It was fucking miserable. But yeah, that was the duality of that tour for me. And I think that's like my most fun tour story, I guess. Yeah. That I can give you.
Uh, that's awesome. Favorite bands to tour with?
Um Dr. Acula. We did
That's a
two
name
tours
I
with those
haven't heard
guys.
forever. I love hearing that name. That's
Yeah, those guys are like our bros. We also did two tours with Abacab, and those dudes were like our bros as well. Um, I would say that when I filled in for I Declare War, it was really awesome. It was just like it wasn't my band. There wasn't a lot of pressure, and we kind of just like had a good old time, Like it was like, um, but yeah, I love those guys too. Like we had multiple bands like that we toured with multiple times. Lionheart was a band that we did two tours with, like straight up hardcore band, but got real close with those guys and just like had a blast every time, every day hanging out with them and just kind of broing out. But yeah, I'd probably say those are them.
okay.
Love the Whitechapel guys. Like wish we got to tour more with them because they were very chill. I got to do the Thy Art tour with them. Um, but yeah, Thy Art are
Hell
my
yeah.
favorite band to tour with. Like they're just like super chill, um, always up for like a good time. And I think when I was touring with Molotov, I was just kind of like a bit up my own ass and kind of like not happy, you know. And so going back to it like later on and being happy and just kind of being in a good environment with Thy Art was awesome.
Oh yeah.
The first two tours I did with them were more fun. Whereas like when CJ had his baby and I filled in on the Architects tour in the States, it was like everybody was like at the end of the tour and like tired.
Yeah.
And I joined up and I had all this energy and I was like, let's party, let's go. And everybody was like, I'm fucking ready to go home. So yeah, we had a good time. I love those guys.
All right. I want to ask, which is harder, being a vocalist or being a frontman?
Honestly, I think being a frontman, like I don't think I'm like the best frontman or anything like that, but I think like being a frontman for me comes like kind of naturally. Like there are things that you need to learn and practice and kind of like hone to
Yeah.
be like better while you're, in front of a crowd. But I don't it's never been like hard for me. Um I think being a vocalist has been harder, honestly.
Okay.
I think kind of trying to like live up to like other people's standards or like be impressive or like I don't know, try to sound smart with your lyrics, like just different things like that is harder, and you're kind of a bit more under like a magnifying glass, like a microscope. Whereas when you for me, it was like when I was a front man, it's like as long as I kind of was confident in what I was doing, it was fine.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think confidence goes a long way as a front man,
Absolutely.
which is like you get confidence either by being like I don't know, uh like arrogance confidence versus like practicing and honing your craft and being prepared and ready
Yeah.
confidence are two different things. So I think I, maybe mixed a bit of both, but yeah, I think confidence definitely goes a long way with being a front man. And I think, I don't know, for me, it's like I, I, I had the confidence. It wasn't an issue. I think that when I was filling in with art, I kind of had to like rebuild that confidence a little bit. But then once I was there, it was not an issue. It was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Okay. I love asking that because it is there is a difference. You've seen people that maybe they're not the most I don't know, maybe
Like
not the best
extroverted.
vocalists.
Yeah.
Like as far as
Oh,
like technique and stuff like that. But frontman wise, they command a room. They
yeah.
have that presence about them. And
Yep.
then the other side, there's vocalists that can do anything and everything, but they're not commanding the crowd or having
Yeah.
that presence that's making you like pay attention and stay engaged.
I think a perfect example of that, like a current perfect example of that, is Disembodied Tyrant. I
Okay.
don't know if you've seen them at all recently.
I've seen videos. I've not seen them live.
Yeah, and he is. I've never spoken with this guy, but he's. I've heard secondhand from other people that have toured with him that he is self-conscious and wants to be better at being a frontman, but is like sick musician,
He's
sick
really new
vocalist.
to being a frontman, right? Because I think
Yeah,
he's a guitar player and everything. I think he's stepping out and becoming the frontman, and he's like learning on the
absolutely.
fly.
Yes. So I think he's like the perfect example of like not the best frontman, amazing musician, amazing vocalist. I'm sure he'll learn and he'll become, and that band is like on a fucking rocket ship
Yeah,
right now. They're doing great. So yeah, I think little practice and a little confidence for him will go a long way, and that band will, reap the benefits.
absolutely, absolutely. All right. Well, I have taken up a ton of your time, so before we get out of
At
here,
2 hours.
I know we've been chatting it up. We can blame the
Yeah.
anime and video games. It derailed us.
Oh
Damn
no,
you!
it's good.
Wow,
It's good.
ruining
It's
everything
good.
again.
Yeah.
Um,
Doesn't ruin enough, but yeah.
if you will, plug anything you want to plug right now. Molotov, whatever. The floor is yours. Just to plug away.
I mean, I don't have much to plug. Molotov, we released our EP. We started releasing singles and music videos and stuff. There is a trilogy of music videos, so if you haven't seen all of them, definitely go give them a watch. Dylan from Versus Studios, crushed it. So, give him some love. Of course, give Molotov some love. Give Will Putney some love, and I mean, I feel like he gets a lot of it anyway, but he's
So
the
nice of you
man.
guys to help a small producer out.
Yeah, tiny little guy like him. And the artist Murder. They've been, through a lot of trials and tribulations with vocalist stuff, but they're great people and great friends of mine, and I wish them nothing but the best.
Hell yeah. All right. And
Yeah.
we'll have all the links for Molotov and all the good stuff down below that you want to promote. And how I like to end it, if you will, just kind of give some advice to vocalists, whether it's a new aspiring vocalist, someone, wanting to pick up the mic and get into it, or maybe it's someone that's been doing it for a little bit, it's kind of in a rut, or, could use a little pick me up, or even a veteran that maybe this will help them level their game up even more.
I think it would kind of go back to what I was saying earlier, and I do have friends that are kind of, my age, approaching 40, and kind of falling back into their love for music, and giving them like a bit of a nudge to like, you don't have to chase your dreams. Like, you're not gonna be Phil Bozeman, or you're not gonna be Mitch Lucker at 40, but you can still have fun while you're doing it, have some kind of creative release while you're doing it, and have something for your friends to be like, this is really cool, like it's very beneficial, for your mental health, to be able to do things that you love. And if there's something that you want to do, I would say, like what I was saying before, like, just do it. Like, don't let the fear of failure keep you from success. Like, you have to develop a bit of thick skin, and you have to be brave, because there, of course, is going to be, negative opinions or scrutiny or whatever, but do it for yourself and enjoy all the little, bits of it, all the writing, all of the studio, all of the different like pains and troubles and tribulations that you go through while you're doing it. Just do it for yourself. Even with Molotov, we were like, should we, after even spending all the money, all the time recording, it's like, should we even release this? Like, yeah, it's like, you have to, you got to do it. Like, you don't want to be on your deathbed and be like, man, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
Don't let the fear of failure keep you from living your life. Like, go do it.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Nice. Love that. That's awesome. I think that's it, unless there's anything else you want to share. And I think we've about covered it all, man. I appreciate your time very much, Nick. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
It's been an honor to chat with you. As a fan of Molotov for a long time, it's been really sick to finally get to like chat with you and do this. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm gonna go. You know what Topgolf is?
I do know what Topgolf
for a friend's birthday tonight. So.
Oh hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
Pumped for that. Yeah.
Be a good time. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for this. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Good chatting with you.
You too. Thank you all so much for watching and listening to this episode of Behind the Vocals featuring Nick Arthur of Molotov Solution. Please be sure to check out all the links down below to go show Molotov some love, as well as check out their current EP, Void, out now and streaming all over. They have a trilogy of music videos, which are absolutely sick. Go show them some love on YouTube. And if you are interested in vocal lessons, we didn't get to talk about it on the episode, but hit up Nick on his Instagram. The link is down below. He is interested in taking on some students for vocal lessons. So please, if that is something that interests you, hit him up and go choose some lessons. Thank you all so much for watching or listening. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys and gals on the next one.